everybody, it's Mike Jeffers, ChicagoJazz.com, and welcome to Talkin' Jazz. We are out of the hot dog stand today because we have a special guest. Jim Holman is here, and we are talking about the second annual Labor Day Jam Session. It's the instrumental jazz jam for Rusty Jones, happening at Fulton Street Collective, which is at 1821 West Hubbard Street. It is on Monday, September 3rd. It's the second annual, and 9 hours of instrumental jazz jamming. Jim, I'm so happy you came down. We're over at the warehouse today because we wanted to make sure we got this in. It's coming up fast, and this is the second annual one. But why don't we talk a little bit about Rusty Jones? I'm sure a lot of our viewers know about Rusty Jones, but you knew Rusty Jones probably since you were a little kid growing up.
Yeah.
So what does this mean to you to be able to do a jam session for Rusty?
Well, thanks, Mike, for having me. It's in Rusty's name because he's been a friend to all of us. Actually, how it all came together was we were trying to find a way to plan something with Ira last year. And
Ira Sullivan, by the way, is going to be running. I should
Ira's going to be hosting the whole event.
He and Ira are going to be there for all 9 hours, and then everybody else is going to instrumentally jam and sit in and bring their axes and hang out and all that stuff.
Yes,
so,
sir.
sorry, I digressed there. So, you wanted to think of a way to include Ira last year, right?
Right. And that was the day that we could steal him. And my dad and I were talking, and one of us mentioned, who'd really enjoy this is Rusty, because Rusty was always the one that would make or break a jam session. Hidden coming would be the highlight. So we thought it'd be a nice thing to name it after him. And I grew up watching Rusty play with my dad. My dad has a CD with him, and I was lucky enough to have him on one of my CDs, but he's just one of those guys.
Well, and Rusty, I met Rusty at a jam session. I remember they were playing at the Chambers. This was back in the 90s. And when I came back from school, your dad, Scott Earl Holman, and Rusty Jones, and who was the bass player then? Brian Sandstrom. And I remember going there. I was by myself, and Rusty looks over. He's playing drums, and he starts staring me down like, I don't know. What did I do? I just showed up here, man. So and he came right over to me and said, "Are you a drummer?" And I said, "Yeah, how do you know?" It was like he had a sixth sense. And he made me sit in. He flipped his whole drum set around. Of course, he was left-handed, so he flips the whole thing around, and I play a couple of tunes, and that kind of started our friendship, and that was back in the 90s. So, he was like the master of the jam session. He always loved doing that. No matter where he was playing, as you know, he'd always want you to sit in. Well, come on, sit in.
Yeah.
Come on, sit in. And as a drummer, by the way, he actually made me take a drum solo during a ballad. He insisted everybody gets a solo, and they played a ballad. Anyways, so I totally love the fact that this whole jam session is in honor of Rusty Jones, because it's like that's the whole deal, man. That's what Rusty's MO was try to pursue and push jazz into the younger audience, right? That's probably how you got into it.
Yeah, no, he left a huge mark on the scene here and really ups the ante as far as what the craft could be.
Sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about who's going to be there. Now, the second annual Rusty Jones Labor Day Jam Session, September 3rd at Fulton Street Collective. By the way, for more information, they have a Facebook event page set up on Facebook, so it's probably second annual Rusty Jones Labor Day Jazz Jam.
Yes, sir,
they can find that on Facebook. And then we're going to link it up on ChicagoJazz.com as well, so you can check it out there. So there's going to be a ton of musicians there, but why don't we talk a little bit about who's going to be there, kind of yourself, obviously, and who else is going to be there?
So Ira is going to be hosting the entire...
Ira Sullivan
is going to be hosting the entire thing with myself. His son, Brev Sullivan, who's this great guitar player, and Mark Berner, they're coming up from Miami. And the four of us are going to be there for the entire thing. But other than that, we have rotating out. Since it is 9 hours, we have a lot of people rotating out.
Yeah, you've got Dana Hall, Dennis Carroll, Ira, and yourself are going to be doing a set from 3 until 6.
Right.
So
to be clear, that's the only part that is not a jam session is those two sets between 3 to 6.
But that's a cool listening opportunity.
Oh, absolutely.
So, who wouldn't want to go? Yeah, who wouldn't want to go check that? Especially the piano player is going to be really happening. Come on. So that's happening, and then you have a whole host of other musicians coming in. Let me just see. You've got Mark Berner, Dan Shapira, right? You've got Trevor Shandling is coming. Who else is coming?
Ben Dillinger. We got Isaiah Spencer and Greg Artree are going to be there. Evan Levine.
Starts at 2 p.m.?
Yeah. So the thought is we'll have it be 9 hours because we know that, we know two things, that there's less going on during Labor Day in terms of live music in general, but also that people might be coming in and out because it's they're going to be spending some time with their kids and whatnot. So it's 2 to 11, and we'll have some kid-friendly stuff. We know that we'll have giant Jenga and bags there. We might have some like painting corner or something. It's a large enough space that kids could,
bring your kids. They can hang out. They can listen. They can
get
play.
Them started early with exposure to some great jazz.
And if they get bored, they can go play around in the corner.
Exactly.
I love it. That's awesome. If you're an instrumentalist, bring your axe, sit in. This isn't a vocal jam session, just
right,
simply
it's
because of
instrumental,
logistics and things like that, I'm sure. So it's an instrumental jam session. But of course, if you're a vocalist and you just want to stop by and listen, you can come.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. But it's an instrumental jam session. So that's all happening on Labor Day. And I love the fact that it's on Labor Day because, everybody's wiped out. The Jazz Fest is happening that whole weekend and leading up to it. So it'll be a nice kind of a chill out time for musicians to just go and relax, hang, and jam in honor of Rusty Jones. Mm-hmm. So all the information is at chicagojazz.com and Facebook event, second annual Rusty Jones Labor Day Jazz Jam Session.
Thank you so much for
doing I'm glad you came down, definitely. And of course, we will see everyone over there at the Fulton Street Collective. Jim, before I let you go, let's do a quick plug for yourself. What's your website? You got any gigs coming up? Come on.
JimHolman.com. This is the next big thing that I got going on.
But you're playing all over the town all the time.
Yeah, I got my steady on the weekends at the Chicago Chop House, and
you got a recording coming out of apparently with.
Well, yeah, we're in the rehearsal stage. We're going to do a duo with a piano trumpet duo with Barrett Harmon, so that'll be interesting.
That's awesome. So get more information on Jim at jimholman.com, and then all the other information on the Facebook event page. And hopefully we will see everyone there. And of course, as I always end every episode of Talkin' Jazz, if Jim and I don't see you somewhere that weekend, hopefully we'll see you somewhere out on the scene.